After the last week of TV building up the hype, the company built Nitro on June 1 on WCW and both nWo groups waiting to hear Sting's decision on which stable he joins, with all three groups arriving separately in limousines throughout the first hour. After WCW arrived first with Goldberg, Page and Booker as the main representatives, the Wolfpac limo was next at the MCI Center parking lot with them going straight to the ring, in the first Monday appearance with the new Wolfpac entrance song after debuting it on Thunder a few days earlier. Lex Luger cut a promo hyping Sting's decision, talking about their history over the last decade, while challenging Hogan and Giant to a Wolfpac vs. Hollywood tag match later tonight. The rest of WCW's first hour saw a tag match of Raven and Saturn against Public Enemy going 7 minutes, with Raven rehiring the Flock in the post-match promo, along with Alex Wright making his TV return after months out with injury going over Chavo, with Eddie coming out to build to their first pay-per-view match. With 8:57 p.m. approaching, Randy Savage came out for the crossover segment, calling out Piper, positioned to go against Draw's opening quarter after popping a big rating last week for their segment with Bret Hart. Savage and Piper went face-to-face again, with Savage saying that they will crush Hogan and Bret at the pay-per-view, but he still doesn't trust him, bringing up Piper reversing the decision as referee at Slamboree in the Savage vs. Hart match. Savage said that he's coming after him the moment the tag match ends at the Great American Bash, as Piper agreed to set it up. Piper said that Bret is trying to stir things up and is working everyone including Hogan, saying how Bret never wore an nWo shirt despite being in the group for weeks. Coming off the Over The Edge pay-per-view headlined by a wild Austin vs. Dude Love match that saw Vince laid out after a chair shot to the head and both Patterson and Briscoe put through tables, Mick Foley opened Raw sitting mid-ring in street clothes for the follow-up promo. Foley said that it wasn't a good night for him after losing the match and getting several legit injuries during the brawl, saying that he made a mistake trusting the wrong people and calling out Vince McMahon to apologize. Vince, who himself suffered some legit cuts, came out to major heat from the crowd, as Foley apologized for losing but said that after taking some time off for injuries, based on the great match they had, he hopes to be the #1 contender when he comes back. Vince called Foley a failure and told him to apologize on his knees, as Foley refused with his family watching on TV, telling McMahon that deep down the chair shot he hit him with last night felt pretty good, with Vince challenging Foley to do it again, threatening him with his family savings on the line, ending a strong promo telling Foley that his services are no longer needed, kicking off Raw in the lead with a 4.2 rating. The third limousine arrived to the building with nWo Hollywood coming out, as Hulk Hogan made his return after being off TV in the last week filming a movie in Canada. Hogan responded to Nash and Luger's challenge for the tag match in the main event against him and Giant, saying that after they beat them Sting will join nWo Hollywood. Bret Hart then responded to Piper saying that he is double-crossing the nWo as he never wore the logo, revealing a Hogan shirt under his jacket to show where he stands and calling Hogan the greatest of all time, ending the promo with Hart and Hogan hyping the Big Star Power tag against Savage and Piper. Raw had the Road Warriors and DOA in a street fight outside the Rosemont Horizon, ending up with Undertaker arriving to the building searching for Vince McMahon, as both shows stayed steady in the second quarter, with WCW opening with its lowest number in 5 months despite the big star power in the first half hour. Next on Nitro was Curt Hennig and Rick Rude out for a promo calling out Goldberg for a US title match at the Great American Bash, in what is set to be Goldberg's highest-profile pay-per-view match to date. At the same time on USA Network, Undertaker came out for one of Raw's big angles of the night, cutting a work-shoot promo on Vince McMahon and his standing in the company over almost the last decade. Taker started by saying that Vince gave him a chance to be himself when he first arrived, but that's when all the giving stopped as McMahon used him to protect his hand-picked top guys, knowing that he will be loyal. Saying that he got his shot at the top when there was nobody left as all his chosen top guys left for different reasons, referring to Hogan, Savage, Warrior, Bret and Michaels, and even those runs were short as McMahon didn't want him as the lead representative of the company, but he still stayed loyal knowing that his time will come. Taker then went over to the Kane program this year saying that Vince forced him to fight his own brother and told his family history for ratings, while Steve Austin at the same time got his shot at the top instead. Saying that he doesn't have a problem with Austin, but it's time Taker got what's rightfully his, demanding a shot at Austin for the title to bring out McMahon. Vince said that Taker's loyalty is appreciated, but what has he done for him lately? Booking a Taker vs Kane main event for the #1 contender, with the segment jumping over 500,000 viewers to a first-hour peak 4.6 rating. WCW had Chris Jericho next in a comedic skit going all over Washington claiming conspiracy against him, while Raw had Mero vs Blackman to close out the first hour. With both companies coming from high-profile markets in Washington and Chicago, the combined attendance on the night was close to a combined 30,000 people. WCW from the site of its biggest gate and pay-per-view in history at Starrcade 97 from the MCI Center, which is also set to host the '98 show in December, put tickets on sale for the Big Nitro from its home market in Atlanta's Georgia Dome on July 6, and within a day sold over 15,000 tickets to break the all-time company gate record set 6 months back. The top of the hour saw WCW having 2 matches with Jericho vs Juventud and the start of the 4th match of the best-of-7 series between Booker and Benoit, while Raw opened the second hour with a big 6-man elimination tag with The Nation vs DX going 11 minutes. The match saw Rock continuing to work through injury after suffering knee damage in a house show match against Farooq at the Toronto Sky Dome on May 23, which also caused them to shoot an injury angle last night, with their Rock vs Farooq match having to be shortened, as talks are going on during the week on Rock working through it or potentially getting knee surgery which will take him out of the ring for the next month. The match saw Owen and Hunter as the last 2, with Ken Shamrock making his return attacking Owen for the finish, with The Nation and DX match peaking the night on both shows with a 4.8 rating. Booker and Benoit went 8 minutes in the 4th match of the series, with Benoit going over to go 3-1 up. With WCW having countless options for fresh money matches on the roster, one of the most anticipated ones happened on May 26 in a house show in Memphis with the first ever Sting vs Bret Hart match, ending up with Sting going over clean and the Wolfpac coming out post-match. Another major story for the company during the week was the continuation of the Ric Flair lawsuit, with Flair, while not signing the official contract extension, legally tied to the company due to signing a pre-agreement. Flair did several media interviews talking about wanting to return to WCW under the right circumstances and reform the Four Horsemen, but also saying that he's open to going back to the WWF, answering a question on a radio show on the possibility of the talked about Flair vs. Austin program if he gets his release. With Goldberg already getting the biggest reactions of the shows on a regular basis on TV or on the road, along with moving merchandise at big percentages of all sales at the events, June 1st saw him coming out to a massive ovation, with the crowd starting the singing Goldberg chant even before he came out during commercial breaks. Goldberg went less than a minute with La Parka taking a chair shot to the head and spearing him seconds later as the building erupted, with the momentum continuing to grow by the week with no sign of a ceiling to the rapid rise of popularity. The WWF started the build-up for King of the Ring with the first round matches of the tournament announced on the night, including the first DX match with X-Pac vs Triple H booked for next week. The final match for tonight saw Mark Henry going over Terry Funk to advance, with Vince coming out to do commentary just before the main event. WCW's main event saw the first big nWo clash, with Hollywood's Hogan and Giant going against Wolfpac's Nash and Luger, with almost 3 hours of hype for the decision as Sting still didn't show up. The match went 7 minutes, with Hogan hitting Nash with the belt for the DQ finish, as Sting finally arrived coming down from the ceiling. Sting revealed a black and white shirt with Hogan and Giant celebrating him joining, before quickly turning on them to reveal a Wolfpac shirt underneath to a huge pop, with the final quarter with the nWo tag match along with the hyped post-match segment of Sting joining the Wolfpac, jumping over 600,000 viewers to WCW's peak 4.3 rating, the closest margin of the night, going neck and neck with the Taker vs Kane match on Raw. WCW, which before the TNT preemptions over the last month went off with an all-time opposed record 5.1 rating on April 20th, struggled to regain the momentum, falling to a 6-month low 3.7 rating, with the company hoping that this week is an anomaly and numbers will go back up when viewers get back to the Monday night viewing habit. Steve Austin showed up for the first time on the night over an hour and 40 minutes into the show, coming out alongside Vince McMahon on commentary for the main event. Undertaker and Kane went 6 minutes, with Taker looking to have the match won until Mick Foley made a surprise return as Mankind distracting Taker, with Kane hitting a tombstone for the finish, setting up Kane vs Austin for the title in the main event of the King of the Ring pay-per-view, while throughout the show opening the build-up for the eventual Austin vs Taker match. The Taker-Kane main event with Austin and McMahon at ringside saw Raw jumping back up to a 4.4 rating, narrowly beating the nWo main event, while adding another TV tactic by going over 2 minutes past 11 p.m., gaining to a 5.2 unopposed rating to boost the overall number, and a trick that Vince constantly criticized Bischoff for doing and now doing it himself, in what would become a regular strategy of both shows going forward, with Raw winning all 8 quarters on the night in its biggest margin of victory in history with a 4.4 to 3.7.